Welcome to the Daily Ascent. I'm Molly Carmel, and this is the podcast I always wish existed. A bite sized, on the ground, spiritual note that can shift your thinking and your outlook on life. Because sometimes that's all it takes, a small shift in what we choose to believe to make the day a little better, make us a little more awake, alive, and ascending. So each weekday we climb together. We rise above the noise, we find our flow, we get grounded in what really matters so that you can live your day with more meaning, connection, and ease. And today I want to talk about those times when you really don't want to do the thing, like really don't want to do the thing. But then you go and you're so glad you did. And here's how it went down for me. So file under like very high class problems, very champagne problems. I spent the entire summer traveling. I spent July in North Carolina. I spent August in Long Island. And then in September, I made a commitment to my very best friends in the whole world, my family. I talk about them a lot on the show, that I would stay with my beloved godchildren for a week while they were traveling internationally. Because when they're traveling internationally, they just like to know that they have a real adult there with them. And I'm their family, and that's what we do. And honestly, in my real spiritual self, it's a pleasure and a privilege and an honor to be trusted like that with somebody. That is my real truth. But here's the thing. Here's the other truth. I wanted nothing to do with it. When it became September and I saw that on my calendar, I was like, absolutely not. I had been traveling nonstop. I had packages in my house from July I hadn't even opened. Like my refrigerator was empty, and that's never the case in my house. My suitcase was still like half packed, and my body was exhausted, and my spirit felt threadbare. And all I wanted to do was homebody. All I wanted to do was couch rot. Like all I wanted to do was cocoon at home. And I don't know about you, but here's how I work when I don't want to do something, right? I wish I was just resisting. It is like a full on civil war. Like I build a case. It's going to be miserable. I don't have the energy. I'm too tired. I can't do it. It's like, this is the worst idea I've ever had in my life. Why do I do this to myself? And the real problem is that, these thoughts become belief, become behaviors. Thoughts become belief, become behaviors, And I started that thought pretty early on in the week. And so by the time, I was starting like the night before, I was dragging my feet. I was completely unprepared. I had to push when I was leaving, and I was just deeply convinced that this thing was going to be a disaster. Worse than that, my body decided to join in. The body keeps the score. And so, like the night before, I literally got so sick. Like my body was like, if you're not going to back out, I'm going to back out. Like obviously convinced I had COVID, like obviously convinced I had the flu. But also, I do know this about myself. So anytime I get sick before there's something big happening, a little bit of me is like, I bet I'm just sick because I, don't want to go. But here's the truth. And people may have really different opinions on this. And honestly, on any given day, I have a different opinion on this. But let's just try to see the story as it is, right? I made the commitment, and because I couldn't back out. Certainly not the night before, right? And on that alone, just kind of on my moral fiber, that's what matters to me. I made the commitment and I'm sticking to the commitment. It's the only reason I went. And these people matter to me, and I wasn't going to put them out. But here's the magic. The second I walked through that door, everything shifted. All of my god kids, they're running up to me. They're laughing. They're so excited to see me. They're hugging like they hadn't just seen me the weekend before. It was like literal heaven. And the time with them was literal heaven. This is like, I really think that my energy, I sometimes like I need to guard it and protect it. And I can really forget that I'm not fragile. I mean, when I get too tired, I really think I'm fragile. And if I would have canceled, which I wouldn't have, like, I really would have missed out on what matters to me. I can remember there was a night where it was just the three of us, and one was doing homework while I'm like scratching another one's back, while I'm like playing cards with another one, while I'm doing like my Tibetan bowl with another one. It's just great. And we were laughing and like we were just together. And in that simple togetherness, like I remembered this is joy and this is love and this is what matters to me. And honestly, even exhausted, this is my life force. Like, this is actually what fills me up. And that's such an important thing for me to remember that even when I don't want to do something, it's also sometimes, and not always, the lifeblood that I really need. And the stories that I spun around in my head about how awful it was going to be, honestly, they couldn't have been farther from the truth. If I didn't have that commitment that I held really sacred and really steady, I never would have found this out. I would have continued to believe that I was fragile and not pushed myself. And, when I have these things happen, I like to go to my pocket sages. I love my pocket sages. These are these people I've never met. Sometimes I've met them, but usually I've never met them. And they're people whose words of wisdom are so close to me that they feel like my counsel that I carry in my back pocket. And one of my most beloved pocket sages is Pema Chödrön. And she's a Buddhist nun and an author, and her books have guided me through so many uncertain moments. She is a truth teller among all. And she has this really beautiful book called Living Beautifully with Uncertainty and Change. And it's literally about that. It's about how to live with an open heart in times of instability, of transition. And like, let's be honest, isn't that almost always in life? And so in this book, she introduces what's called the warrior's commitment. And that's like, it really clicked for me. I remembered reading it because that night, the only reason that I showed up was because I had made a commitment. And in Pema's teaching, that's what commitment is. It's what carries us through the resistance, through the fear, even through the sickness. It's the tether that steadies us when everything else feels wobbly. And this is what she writes. The commitment is in essence a vow to take care of one another, even if it sometimes means not liking how that feels. This commitment is connected deeply and unshakably with bodhicitta, a longing to awaken so that we can help others do the same, beyond success and failure, praise and blame. We start exactly where we are now. When we falter, we acknowledge it and simply renew our commitment to stay open. Our challenge is to smile at groundlessness, smile at fear, and keep our hearts from closing. This degree of openness arises from the trust in basic goodness and in meeting others with curiosity and caring. Let me read it again for those of you in the back row. The commitment is, in essence, a vow to take care of one another, even if it sometimes means not liking how that feels. This commitment is connected deeply and unshakably with bodhicitta, a longing to awaken so that we can help others do the same. Beyond success and failure, praise and blame, we start exactly where we are now. When we falter, we acknowledge it and simply renew our commitment to stay open. Our challenge is to smile at groundlessness, smile at fear, and keep our hearts from closing. This degree of openness arises from the trust in basic goodness and in meeting others with curiosity and caring. And when I reread that, I was like, oh, isn't that exactly what happened? Commitment isn't about being rigid or punishing yourself. It's about having a tether to hold on to when your resistance is screaming. And when I was going to this commitment, everything in me said no, but my commitment said yes, right? Everything in my body, everything in my mind was like, don't do it. It's going to be terrible. But that commitment inside of me was like, yeah, it was like, heck yes. It was like, there is no possibility that I am going to this thing, right? And because I followed my commitment, it landed in joy, in love, and in connection. And that's the warrior's way. It's not forcing, but it's staying. It's not pretending like you don't feel scared or resistant or you don't want to do the thing, but it's remaining open even when, and especially when you're feeling that way. And isn't that always where the good stuff is? Isn't that always, it's always in that resistance, right? It's always in that moment we're about to shut down. It's always on the other side of those stories. And so here's my question for you today. Where in your life are you tempted to bail on something that might actually be good for you if you stayed committed in that deeper warrior way? And can you give yourself the gift of showing up for it just once, like even just once? Not perfectly, not without fear, not without complaint, but with the willingness to stay open and see what's waiting for you on the other side. Because in my experience, that is the magic. That is where the magic of commitment lives. So today's word of the day, commitment. But like, let's make it real, okay? Commitment doesn't mean you always feel like it. It doesn't mean you never resist. It doesn't mean you're perfect. It especially doesn't mean you're perfect. It especially doesn't mean you're perfect. It means you keep showing up. You falter and then you return. You make 1,000 excuses in your head, but you stay open anyway. And commitment is the rope that steadies you when the bridge feels shaky. It's the thing that gets you through the door. It's the thing that helps you to discover joy, connection, and the goodness that's waiting for you. And every time you practice it, you build an incredibly important muscle, and that is the muscle of trust. And if you don't have trust, you don't have anything. And so you're building that muscle of trust. You're building that muscle of trust in yourself and in your life and in the truth that love usually lives on the other side of resistance, and magic. Love and magic live on the other side of resistance. So thanks for climbing with me today, friends. And remember, word of the day is commitment, not as a burden, but as a gift. Today, I want you to notice where you want to bail. Notice the story spinning in your mind, and just once, practice staying open, practice staying present, and staying committed in that warrior way, and see what happens. And until next time, I'm here rooting you on through all this chaos and all this still, through resistance and joy. Always, always, always.